The internet is filled with rage this morning after Taylor Lorenz of the Washington Post has doxed the person behind popular Twitter account Libs of TikTok. I say popular on purpose because clearly it's popular among the right, but not among the left. However, Taylor Lorenz herself says a popular Twitter account has morphed into a social media phenomenon, spreading anti-LGBTQ plus sentiment and shaping public discourse. There is much to get into in this story. For one, the story reveals the name of the person who is behind Libs of TikTok. A lot of people they're furious with Taylor Lorenz for a variety of reasons. Notably, Taylor has said in the past that doxing is wrong and publishing private information is wrong, and has even gone on television saying that you are in fear that someone could take any piece of information and come after you, and she cries on TV. Now, I've defended Taylor Lorenz in the past, and I will maintain my position, at least in this regard, that of all of the mainstream media journalists that I've encountered, corporate press, Taylor is one of the only, if only, where I've actually said, like, hey, this thing is not true, or this thing, is actually like this. And she's been really great about it. Like, oh, wow, I didn't see that. Cool. Thanks so much. So as far as I'm concerned, if you're willing to be polite, responsive, and actually address issues, then I'm gonna try and be nice in response. To that end, I also think it's important to point out when I disagree with something someone does. To put it simply, I think Brian Stelter is a bad person. But I do not appreciate people insulting him or calling him names, but they're allowed to. What are you going to do about it, right? But I don't like that. I've criticized Tucker Carlson for referring to him negatively using, we'll put it that way because I don't want to repeat it. Now, I try to keep things on the level of ideas, actions. In the instance of Taylor Lorenz, she is someone who says doxing is wrong, but is now doxed an individual. The question here is, what is doxing? Well, apparently, according to Taylor, she doesn't believe that it's doxing because the information was publicly available, or I should put it, she refers to it as standard journalistic practices. But I'll break it down for you. For those that aren't familiar, Libs of TikTok aggregates videos of libs on TikTok or other social media platforms, and it's critical. It shows recently you have teachers talking about what they're teaching kids in schools. Now, that in and of itself is not anything bad, according to the people who made those videos. This is where things get interesting. Somebody posts a video publicly of them on TikTok, and it's them teaching students about adult themes, like sexual concepts. And Libs of TikTok will post this. Why is that a bad thing? Why are you mad about that? That's someone chose to post. I make these videos all the time and people take clips of it. I don't freak out and be like, why are they posting clips of me? It's like, well, these things happen. Often they are taken out of context when they're of me. And I'm sure that in many instances, full context would be appreciated in even Libs of TikTok videos. But this is the internet, so I'm not going to cry about it. That's not doxing. That's just aggregating things, being, look at these people. Taylor Lorenz has taken the name of the individual, published it, and some have argued it's acceptable that it's not doxing because the name was publicly available. All right, and therein lies the deep philosophical conundrum, the ethical question. Taylor Lorenz's information herself is extremely publicly available and would take only a few seconds to publish. That's still wrong, And Taylor tweeted, and I asked on Twitter, has your stance on doxing changed? Well, based on Taylor Lorenz's tweets about this, she doesn't think what she did was doxing. I don't exactly know why. Let's talk about ethics behind journalism real quick, and then we'll read the story and we'll break down. I'm not concerned about, Taylor's article, Meet the Woman Behind Libs of TikTok. I want to talk about Rolling Stones. Taylor Lorenz wrote about Libs of TikTok and conservatives won't shut up about it. That's the real story here. The story is the culture war and the manipulation. I believe Taylor is engaging in sophistry to argue that what she did is not doxing. And I will stress this. We'll jump over to the SPJ Code of Ethics, and let me just try and see if here we go. Minimize harm. In fact, it is a massive, bold phrase on the SPJ Code of Ethics. So the SPJ, of course, is a Society of Professional Journalists. Their Code of Ethics is not it's not law or anything like that. But, typically we try to use these ethics. Let me read this and let me explain what Taylor did. Posting the name of the person behind Libs of TikTok does not serve the story in any way. If I'm trying to explain to you what Libs of TikTok is, I would say it's an account that aggregates videos of progressives and liberals from TikTok and other social media posts, often shining them in a negative light or a critical light is probably a better way to put it. These videos go viral. Joe Rogan has promoted this. Tucker Carlson has talked about it. That really explains to you what's going on behind this. Now, perhaps you're wondering, what is the motivation of this individual? Why are they doing this? Also important. I completely agree with that, at least when it comes to Taylor Lorenz's reporting. Who is this person? And I mean that in terms of their politics, why they do what they do, and what might motivate them. Saying their name in no way explains this. Their name could be mud for all I know, and that doesn't change anything about the motivations behind the account. Thus, it is maximizing harm when you have gone on TV yourself, Taylor, you've gone on TV and talked about how any little bit of information can cause you serious distress and pain. Saying the name does not in any way explain the motivations. It just opens the door and blasts out the person for pain. You can tell the story and say, this individual did this thing, did that thing, believes this thing, has tweeted about this, that, or otherwise. And you can say whatever you want to say about the person. The person behind this account is an insurrectionist, far-right extremist, blah, blah, blah. Fine. That's all fine. I mean, a lot of opinion. But one of the things they're saying is that the person behind Libs of TikTok had, participated in January 6th or whatever. You want to say that they had been tweeting on the ground from January 6th? Absolutely. Do it. Adding the name maximizes harm. Why would you engage in that? SPJ says, ethical journalism treats sources, subjects, colleagues, and members of the public as human beings deserving of respect. Journalists should balance the public's need for information against potential harm or discomfort. Pursuit of the news is not a license for arrogance or undue intrusiveness. Showing compassion for those who may be affected by news coverage. Use heightened sensitivity when dealing with juveniles, victim of assault, sources or subjects who are inexperienced or unable to give consent. Consider cultural differences. Recognize that legal access to information differs from an ethical justification to publish or broadcast. Let me stress that point and send it over to Taylor's tweet herself. Taylor tweeted, Libs of TikTok has become a powerful force online shaping right-wing media, impacting anti-LGBTQ plus legislation and influencing millions by posting viral videos aimed at inciting outrage. I wrote about the account, the woman behind it, and why it matters. I said, has your position on doxing changed? And then someone responded, scanning Twitter bios as doxing? Tim Pool, famous dox supporter, LMAO, because I've had Jack Posobiec on the show. My response was, yes, you're allowed to engage with people who do things you think are wrong, and you don't have to condemn the entirety of a person's human beingness because they did one thing you didn't like. Again, I will stand by when there have been stories that have been incorrect or falsely framed. Taylor's engaged on these things. I've had fine conversations. I respect that 100%. So people like to come out and many times in the past, attack Taylor, and I'm like, nah, I disagree on some of the things that she does, but disagreement is not grounds for me to just be outraged or insulting or condescending. I can just say I disagree with that, but I respect Taylor's willingness to engage on issues and actually communicate on that. Tremendous respect for that. In this instance, I can only just say I think this action was wrong. My personal view on this is that it was an intent to maximize harm, because any journalist knows you don't need to do this. I've worked in these newsrooms. We talk about this stuff all the time. We change names. You go to many news outlets and they'll be like, a mother, is in a court battle over her trans child, and we're going to call her Dana, but Dana is not her real name. Right. You change the name because you don't need to say a four-letter word to convey the context and the importance of the story. In this instance, the story about Libs of TikTok does not require the name to be published. Now, the response I got, Robbie Suave said, I ask this in genuine good faith. How do you square this sort of reporting with your stated position that doxing is never okay? It seems you are likely to direct no small amount of harassment towards this woman as a result of exposing her. One individual. Now, I want to stress the people who follow this post Only people that Taylor Lorenz follows can reply. One of her followers said, one of the people she follows, it's not doxing when it's public information. I said, no, that can't be. Taylor's info is publicly available and it's wrong to post it. They said, if you consider name filed on trademark application doxing, then the blame should be on the United States Patent and Trademark Office, not Taylor. Wrong. SPJ says, recognize that legal access to information differs from an ethical justification to publish or broadcast it. My opinion is Taylor Lorenz did this for political reasons. The reason why I think that is that when you look at the responses and you look at the conversation on Twitter, these are people who genuinely hate Libs of TikTok. They're politically motivated individuals. Of course, welcome to the culture war. Ethics be damned at this point. Some people have made the point that Taylor can come out and say doxing is wrong, and then someone responds, yes, except when it's against my enemies, then it's okay. There was a tweet saying that Taylor actually, my understanding is Taylor responded saying, no, it's never okay. But here we are. Legal access to information differs from an ethical justification to publish or broadcast. Broadcast means effectively to amplify it out, even if it is publicly available. I want to make one point. Libs of TikTok was doxed in such a ridiculously easy manner that I kind of roll my eyes like it barely qualifies as doxing. That being said, it still is doxing. There's doxing in the sense where I can dig up old records and I can track down an old building in an old abandoned town and then find a manila folder and I'm like, there's their name. Or you can pay for a service to do a background search and try and connect dots and addresses. There's some legitimate doxing. Like we got doxed here at our place of work, and it was because someone recognized an interior photo. We were taking it all seriously. We're like, no photos. We're not going to do any of that. And then someone recognized the corner of a room. I'm like, wow. Okay, well, they doxed us. Now, as for Taylor, she did a public record search, and it was like everything was just lined up. Address, name, and Libs of TikTok all in one place. So I'm like, okay, it is doxing, but you kind of need to understand security. You know, that being said, Taylor had no reason to publish this name. They say, realize that private people have a greater right to control information about themselves than public figures and others who seek power, influence, or attention. Weigh the consequences of publishing or broadcasting personal information. Now, this is an interesting counterpoint. Libs of TikTok is a powerful platform that has a serious impact. Still, there's no reason to increase the danger to an individual's life in order to explain who they are and what they do, even if you're being critical. Avoid pandering to lurid curiosity. Balance a subject's right to a fair trial with the public's right to know. Consider the long-term implications of the extended reach and permanence of publication. I put it this way. If you want to enter the public arena, recognize that you will be in the public arena. Some people are saying that Libs of TikTok has a right to privacy. I don't know if I agree with that. If you want to have a tremendous and powerful impact, I think the people have a right to know who you are and what your motivations are. That being said, I would not agree with putting out people's information like that in a news story. The journalist should not be engaging with opinions of on these matters. Let me put it this way. Journalists are supposed to be, to a degree, fair and allow public discourse to play out. You don't need to publish someone's name. I just say it again. You don't need to publish their name. You can explain who they are, what they do. You can mention their name is readily available. All of that stuff. You don't need to publish their name. Now, where things get interesting is that apparently it's being reported that Taylor went to the home of one of the relatives of the person behind Libs of TikTok. Now, a lot of people on the right are angry about that. I would disagree with that. However, I would not disagree with going to someone's house. James O'Keefe goes to people's houses to confront them. He's done it in the past. CNN has done it. You want to complain about it, everybody does it. Going to a relative's home, okay, well, that's where things get a little iffy. These people are not involved in the story. Why are you going to their house? My understanding is in this instance, it may have been because the address on file in one of these public disclosures about the person behind Libs of TikTok, that was the address Taylor went to. Look, it's a dirty world we live in. There was an instance where CNN doxed a guy because he made a meme. Absolutely wrong. Or they threatened to. But there was a guy, I think, who posted a Nancy Pelosi video and that put his name and job out. That's all wrong. It is different when you're dealing with a public figure. Libs of TikTok, in my opinion, can't expect to have nearly 700,000 followers and not have people be like, we know who is operating this massive account, which has more reach than CNN Plus. I mean, CNN Plus only has 10,000 daily active users, but you get the point. Like, okay, maybe that's not fair. CNN Plus is gutter trash. But I mean, 700,000 is prominent. People are going to know who you are. If you want to be in the public arena, you can only wear a mask for so long. Again, I think what Taylor Lorenz did was wrong. I'm just saying it feels like an inevitability. But that inevitability should be a matter of the public, not a journalist choosing to enter the fray and engage in the culture war in that manner. But come on, we all get it. All the journalists are involved. Rolling Stone. Taylor Lorenz wrote about libs of TikTok and conservatives won't shut up about it. Newsweek. Here we go. Newsweek says, why Taylor Lorenz libs of TikTok expose has outraged conservatives. Let me show you this tweet from Taylor Lorenz. It's the, is this the meme? And it shows the butterfly, the most basic reporting practices, right-wing media, is this doxing. There's no question about it. It was. Taylor, your information is publicly available. Now, if I wanted to do a story explaining why people are upset with you and how you're a very prominent figure who reports on social media, if I included private details about you that are publicly available, would that be doxing? Yes, it would. And I wouldn't do it because it's wrong. And therein lies the big problem, I guess. Perhaps if Taylor believes that revealing people's private information is not doxing, then it should be allowed to post. Now, of course, Taylor didn't publish this person's address. Now, that would be different. But Taylor, I believe in the story, does explain how to get the address. I could be wrong. But at the very least, as a result of this reporting, the information, I believe I'm pretty sure it's in the story. I'm avoiding the Washington Post story because I am not going to publish the name of an individual who wants to be private. But I'm pretty sure Taylor explained how she got the name. And in doing so, basically said like, hey, you want this person's address? It's right there. I'll ask this. Taylor, if I published an explanation of where your address could be located, but without saying your address, would that be doxing or a step over the line? Personally, I think it would be. And I think you did step over the line because I don't want anybody getting hurt. This is the nature of the culture war, though. Principles be damned. Rules for thee, but not for me. Now, Taylor may think that publishing the name of an individual is not doxing, but it literally is. A person who is anonymous having their name revealed is doxing. And again, to be fair, it was extremely easy to do. Like when people were like, look how libs of TikTok got doxxed, I was like, are you kidding? Like, you may as well just tweet your name out. Come on. That being said, nobody had actually taken up the effort until recently, and now here we are. So they say, among the chaos following the case on social media, Lorenz was accused of showing up to the house of relatives of the libs of TikTok account holder. However, this information has not been confirmed by Lorenz or the Washington Post and has not been independently proven to be true. My understanding is that it may have been the address on file that wasn't actually Libs of TikTok's address, but somewhere she may have used to live. Libs of TikTok is considered one of the most influential accounts in the conservative landscape on social media, and its tweets received thousands of likes. Its content regularly misgender, non-binary, and transgender people, and has called civil rights protesters criminals. But this is all opinion stuff. Who has a right to anonymity in the public space? Therein lies the deep challenge. At what point do you forfeit your right when you engage in the public arena? Let me clarify my point from earlier. I think people have a right to anonymity. I think if you want to leave your house, you can put on a mask. You can wear a mask and go to a protest. At a protest wearing a mask, you can scream whatever you want. In fact, you can be an extremely influential protester wearing a mask. You have a right to wear that mask because you don't want to face retaliation from political forces or government. The same is true for Libs of TikTok. Why does Libs of TikTok forfeit that right? My point about being in the public eye is that eventually people will discover who you are, so you should accept that will be an inevitability. But I do think people have a right to anonymity to a certain degree in that, keep your name private to avoid retaliation. I can respect it. I want to go. It's a difficult position. It's not absolute. I think at a certain point, we deserve to know who people who are influential are. And it's one thing to be a small activist challenging the machine. It's another thing to have 700,000 followers. Just at a certain point, recognize your weight. I don't like the idea of public policy being shaped by powerful individuals and we don't know who they are. Imagine if Taylor Lorenz ran a secret account that was doxing people or was maybe that's unfair. I'll try and keep it a bit more fair. Ran a secret account that was, posting videos. It's like, okay, who is doing this? What's their motivation? Are they working for a corporation, organization? Are they funded by a PAC? And we find that some of these people actually are. I can only say these are deep, philosophical, moral questions. I don't necessarily have all the answers to. But nonetheless, when powerful entities go after individuals, I think it's wrong. Writing about them, their motivation's fine. There are also questions about whether or not people have a right to privacy simply because people follow them. If Libs of TikTok simply wanted to post silly memes, why then why is it that because people follow you, you lose your rights? These are tough questions. I can only put it this simply. Taylor should not have posted the name. The name does not serve the story in any capacity, and that's all that matters. I can tell you about a guy who posts memes, and I can be like, we know who this guy is. We know where he lives. We know who he voted for. We know who he's worked for. He has been active at these protests. He believes that Donald Trump is the God Emperor, and he, is a middle-class working individual. Their motivations seem to be based in populist politics and right-wing ideology and conservatism. And you're like, oh, that's why they're doing it. If I say the name of the person, what changes? You still know everything you already knew, but now you can easily find out where the person lives, who their family is. The public arena is a dirty, dirty space, my friends. Dirty space. We got doxxed. That was a more extreme instance than what Taylor Lorenz did. And from this, we've now been threatened, swatted, the bomb squad's shown up, and it's caused, it's called a minor inconvenience. We got good security. We ourselves are armed, and for the most part, the swattings are negligible. The cops show up, do their sweeps. It's pretty cool sometimes, actually, because we know them, they know us, and, they do their job. And people seem to think when swatting happens, the cops kick our door and and they're screaming. It's like, no, they show up, they do their job, but they're prepared. And typically, I don't want to give away too much of our security, but it's cool. It is particularly cool. So anyway, the public arena is a dirty and dangerous place. I don't know what I'll say on this matter. It's a big story because Libs of TikTok actually is changing the shape of politics, exposing teachers who are indoctrinating kids, and the left doesn't like it. This views to me like a political maneuver. It seems like the only real reason to do this story is to cause damage and instill fear and harm on an individual who is exposing you. To what degree is doxing allowed? To what degree is it doxing? Let me ask you that question. Taylor, we know your name. But, maybe people want to understand more about you, and it's important to know, the general area where you live so people get an understanding for your politics. No, I think that's wrong, obviously. But where is the line? That's why I bring that up. What's the line? If someone doesn't reveal their name, is revealing their name okay? Revealing their name will result in harassment, threats, violence, swatting, etc. What if someone does reveal their name? For what reason did you reveal their name? The story didn't change based on me knowing the specific name of the individual. The story wouldn't change. Actually, I take that back. I can actually make a better argument for why your address, or at least your neighborhood. There are many neighborhoods in, say, Nashville, for instance, where we just were, that are progressive, and it's in a very conservative state. Now, I think it's more newsworthy to say this person lives in East Nashville, which is a very leftist area, as opposed to saying your name, because knowing where you live can explain your motivations. Right? I still think it's wrong, because people might go there. Well, they might not, but publishing the name means people can easily find the address anyway. They can find out where you went to school. They can find out who your family is. There's more danger in knowing the name than knowing where the person lives. Finding out where someone lives is extremely easy once you have their name. Finding out someone's name based on where they live is not so easy. So I would argue it would be based on the logic of, Taylor Lorenz and the Washington Post and basic reporting practices. The local area where Taylor lives is more newsworthy than the name of a person working a Twitter account. I still think it's wrong to do. Now, you might argue, yeah, but if you have their address, I didn't say address. I'm saying neighborhood, because I do think address is a step too far. But I'll push it a little bit. Listen, addresses in New York have 50 names associated with them. And if I said someone, a person, an anonymous account lives here, you're going to have to dig through like 12 different names. Granted, you can still go and cause problems at that house. Publishing someone's name and, information about them, I can easily figure out where they live. More importantly, you can then target their family, their schools much more easily than just an address. Let me say it another way. If you said someone lives at this address and it's got 30 apartments in it, what are you going to do? Throw something at the building? Well, now you're terrorizing 30 people, and the individual who lives there may not be as concerned. I give the name. Now this person has to realize that beyond just where they live, their place of work, their favorite coffee houses, their PO boxes, anything associated with their name is now at risk, and innocent people who share the same name could be at risk. Suffice it to say, an address being published, an overt, outright address, numbers and everything, is less dangerous than the name. The name gives you more information. Would it be okay then to explain? I think we need to understand where Taylor Lorenz comes from and who she's surrounded by so we could publish her address? No. The arguments are stupid. Anyway, you get the point. I'm not going to say the name of the person behind Libs of TikTok, but the name's out there. Just because the name is out there doesn't mean people should be amplifying it. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.